And turning now to the energy crunch America is facing because of artificial intelligence. Utilities companies are investing in the nation's power grid due to the growing number of AI data centers popping up from coast to coast. You've probably seen them. The increased use of energy is triggering some concerns about the amounts of energy needed to power them. But one U.S.-based company has a proposal to help solve this issue. So let's bring in CEO and founder of Terraflow Energy, Jon Parella. His company is producing batteries to help ease the burden of the higher demand for energy. Great to see you, Jon. Thanks for being here. I'm so fascinated by this topic because we've covered so much of how these data centers are, driving up energy costs, and a lot of people are unhappy about it. You have a solution. Tell us about it.
Well, we are a OEM manufacturer of batteries, but they're not traditional lithium ion like everybody would think. It's called a flow battery. And they're long duration, and they can handle the volatility and the problems that a lot of these data centers have been trying to solve. But the biggest thing for helping with the grid when they are able to get grid connected is that it enables the data centers to become a flexible solution. And what that means is that they can respond to the grid and be able to be supportive of the grid when the grid really needs the power. They can basically curtail all their load and basically disappear from the grid when the grid needs the power. So it enables infrastructure to be built out. It enables the grid to be a lot more stable during peak periods, but it keeps the data center running and doesn't cause them to sacrifice any of their compute. So it's
And
a unique solution.
how reliable is it?
So this battery technology has been around for over 40 years. It just was predominantly over in kind of Asia and Europe. We're standing up manufacturing here in the United States. It is definitely a long duration solution. It is a long life solution. They last 25, 30, 40 years. It's built with redundancy in mind so that it can keep the data centers up and give them that high resiliency and reliability without really sacrificing any compute, but then give them the ability to disappear when they need to.
So if this big issue of energy storage isn't addressed now or soon, what's going to be the impact and what kind of consequences that have for the growth of AI and kind of the need to support this expansion of data centers?
Well, getting AI connected is definitely a challenge. You see a lot of data centers now going with behind the meter generation so they can get online faster. The grid is struggling with understanding all the dynamics because these are such big campuses. They're really struggling with the impact of what happens if they go down versus the grid goes down, and how do you keep these data centers online? So everybody's turning to storage to solve the problem. Everybody's turning to natural gas generation to try and solve the problems. Renewables are coming into play a lot now as well. And so it's definitely something they're struggling to figure out. How do you integrate these very massive loads that are as big as cities? Our batteries do enable the ability for them to, like I said, be assets to the grid instead of liabilities, which means, if you look at the grid and you look at 95% reliability, meaning you can disappear about 5% of the time, you actually could fit most, if not all, the data centers that are trying to get connected today. It's only that peak period when there's not enough power. And so by implementing these data centers, it does enable the grid to build out more, and it gives you the revenue that the utilities can use to be able to afford to put the infrastructure in place. And a lot of legislative now is pushing towards the data centers having to pay for it, so they're not trying to pass it through to the ratepayers.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a question everybody has, is what this will eventually mean for their own wallets. But Jon Parella, thank you very much for talking through that potential solution. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.